Hi, I'm Candace, and I'm with Grow Local, and today with our class that we're going to be doing, we're going to talk about herbs. What's a herb? Tell me what a herb is.
A plant you can eat.
It's a plant you can eat, but so is a vegetable. So what's a herb?
I think
No, you're right.
it's something that you can use for like sauces and things.
For sauces, what do you use it in the sauces for? I'm getting picky here, you guys.
Do you use it for like taste?
For flavoring. Years and years and years ago, when you wanted to get fresh food, you had to grow your own. If you wanted fresh meat, fresh fish, you had to go out and catch your own. And it was a lot of work. They didn't have refrigeration, which meant you went out and you had to hunt down the meat that you were going to eat. You had to kill it, you had to clean it, and you had to haul it home. And because there was no refrigeration, you really tried to get it all eaten before it went bad. And you know what? Sometimes that just didn't happen. So instead of throwing out something that's just starting to go bad, people started using strong tasting herbs to mask the taste. And they also discovered that when they did that, well, people weren't getting as sick as often. How many of you guys eat sushi? Who's had sushi? Have you eaten the wasabi?
Nope.
How about the ginger? Do you know why they put the wasabi and the ginger with your foods?
Since the fish is raw and it usually they like take it so that you can't taste like the yucky fish or something, and also so like that the diseases and germs and stuff can't get to you.
Yeah, fish is one of those foods that it spoils, it gets bad really, really quickly. And wasabi and ginger both have properties in it that kills that bacteria. Garlic is another really good one. Roast beef, they always used to serve it with horseradish for the same reason. Out of my garden, I have a golden oregano, which is fairly mild tasting, you guys. And I also have one that's called hot and spicy. There's also a Greek oregano that you can get, and it actually is known, it's got really good medicinal properties in it. If you get sick, sometimes your parents will go to the pharmacy or the health food store and they'll come home with a little brown bottle with an eyedropper on it, and it's oil of oregano. Anybody here had oil of oregano because they didn't feel good? 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah. Tastes kind of nasty, doesn't it? But that thing is absolutely brilliant for getting rid of the germs that you've got inside, and it helps you make you feel better. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hand out a leaf to everybody, and I want you to look at the leaf, see what it looks like, and then I want you to crunch it up, smell it, and then I want you to taste it with your teeth. Just go. So you're releasing some of the oils. If you like it, eat it. If you don't like it, you have a paper towel on your desk and you can just put it on your paper towel and put it on ignore. All right? Some of these you will really like, you guys, and some of them you'll go,
What do I do first again?
just look at it and then crunch it all up and smell it and then taste it. So touch, smell, and taste.
The leaves are good.
They are, aren't they? But did you guys see a difference between the mild
Yes.
and that other one? That other one, you bite on it and it kind of has a ping to it, doesn't it? Now I have a plant that's gone to flower. Does anybody recognize this at all?
I've seen it before.
I recognize it, I just forget what it's called. I think it's
I've seen it before.
Okay. Anybody know what it is? Nope.
A purple plant.
It's a purple plant and it's not lupins.
maybe a rosemary?
No, but that was a good guess. This actually is used a lot with your chicken and your turkey and the stuffing.
Is it lavender?
No, but
Oh, that's awesome.
okay, no, it's not lavender. This is what sage can look like when it blooms. Sage, yeah. This is their standard garden sage. I do have some leaves here, and I'm going to walk them around. And I'm just going to cut some pieces off. But you guys, how many of you guys have ever been licked by a cow?
Never.
When you feel this stuff, it feels like a cow's tongue. Sage does not really taste that good, so just take a little tiny nibble. It is also known as the singer's friend. You can take sage and you can make a tea out of it, let it cool down, and then you can gargle with it. And it'll soothe your throat.
Oh.
If you want to know whether something's a member of the mint family, feel the stem. It's square. Now, I have thyme. Lots and lots of thyme. And you can get silver thyme, you can get English thyme, you can get lemon thyme. And this one's lemon. This is another one that's used a lot with chicken dishes or fish dishes. Thyme is another one too, where the essential oils, if they're floating around your house, they can help ward off the flu bug. This, you guys, is rosemary. How many of you guys ever heard of rosemary? One thing you can do is if you've got a cookie sheet or you got a pizza pan and you put a little bit of oil on it, and then you take some potatoes and you cut them up really, really, really thin, and you spread them all over top of that pan, and you put them in the oven and you bake them for about 20 minutes, and then you pull them out and you put on your pizza sauce that you did with your oregano, and then you put on a little bit of rosemary, and then you can add maybe some pieces of chicken and then a whole bunch of mozzarella cheese. Put it back in the oven until the cheese melts, and you just made yourself a rosemary chicken pizza. Potato crust pizza.
Sounds like a plan.
It's good. So I'm going to hand these out. Like I said, they taste kind of piney. Rosemary grows in all sorts of different shapes too, you guys. It can drape down and hang like a carpet your fence or carpet your wall. Or you can get other ones that grow out like big bushy shrubs, and they're called foxtails. This one actually has got really straight stems on it, and they call it barbecue rosemary because a lot of people will take these little needles off and they will dry them and they'll save them for their winter cooking. And then they just use the stems as skewers, and they put their meat on it and barbecue it that way, and all the flavor comes out of the stem. So they get more bang for their buck. So here we go. We just had the comment that rosemary is really easy to grow. It is really easy to grow. It's a Mediterranean herb, so it's going to be the same as your thyme, your oregano, and your rosemary. They like the same kind of environment. They like loose, porous soil, kind of poor soil. And they can tolerate drought a little better than others. They don't need to be watered a whole lot. If you're growing herbs and they're really soft, like parsley and chives and cilantro, then you know they need lots of water. But if they're a little bit woody, you know that they can stand a little bit of drought, which means you can go on vacation and you don't have to panic or get anybody to water your garden. And I can't express enough how good it is for kids to get out and learn about where their food comes from, how easy it can be to grow, and there's nothing wrong with teaching them the trials and tribulations. You've put a lot of work into it, and somebody stepped on it and it's gone, or the hail came and crushed everything. That's life. It's learning, and it's connections. It doesn't matter where you go. You can always have a gardening connection, whether you're at a community garden, whether you've got your gardens in your backyard, whether you're sticking a couple of pots on the edge of your property so when people come by they go, oh, that's kind of fun, and it starts conversations. Doesn't matter where you live or where you go, you will always find somebody that wants to grow, and it gives them, like I said, good solid connections with people, with life, with the food on their plate. Hi, it's Candace with Grow Local, and today I am with Mike Ward, also known as Cargo Bike Mike. You might have seen him rolling around town on his blue bike, and it's a cargo bike, so hence the name. He's also got his own website. But today we're going to just be talking about his garden in his backyard, and I just want to know, Mike, why are you doing this? What's your motivation? What's your life?
Well, I am a 48-year-old stay-at-home dad who used to work in the tech industry. I spent 20 years in tech, and I just decided one day that, I wanted to really make a huge impact on my environmental footprint. So my wife and I left Victoria. We came to beautiful Port Alberni, where we knew the summers would be hot. I mean, not this hot, but we found a property where there was a lovely flat space to grow our vegetables, which last year we discovered we can grow 6 months worth of our own produce. And this year I'm shooting for 12 months. The heat wave put a little damper on things, but I'm not discouraged. I got lots of seeds ready to go. I want my daughter to know how food grows, where it comes from, because I think that's going to be a big part of our children's futures.
Yeah, and in my estimation, watching his daughter out here with him, she runs around with the chickens. She was talking about what they like to eat, what they didn't like to eat, what she needs to try to keep them away from. She was so proud of the broccoli. She loves the cherries. Oh my gosh, both the sour and the sweet. And you can already tell she's learning to love it. It's not, this is something that you need to do, this is something that we should do. This is something that you can love to do.
Yeah.
Am I close?
Yes, oh, absolutely. Actually, you know, it's funny. She turned 5 years old a couple of months ago, and yesterday, for the very first time, without any prompting, she came out and cleaned out the coop, which I do every day. It's a very small amount. It's not a really big problem. She opened the coop, she cleaned it out, she put the poop in the proper compost bin, and she closed the door, and I came out and it was perfect. At 5 years old, no questions asked.
Yeah, I think it's just absolutely brilliant. The younger you learn, and if you're taught that it's something to strive to love, not a chore, it just makes such a big, big difference.
So, you know, we're not starting with a blank slate, like a perfectly flat, level lot, you know, with the perfect soil. This is an example of what we are dealing with, is that at some point in the history of this property, somebody had laid down this landscaping fabric. Now what this is supposed to do is it's supposed to be laid down to keep the weeds down, and then people throw rocks on it and throw soil on top of it. The problem is it's not an ideal situation for growing. So I've slowly been pulling up this landscaping cloth and filtering the gravel out. The alternative is to do a raised bed. Now I want to mention there's a reason that I want to put my plants in the ground, is that there's a lot less evaporate, or what do I say? I don't have to water as much, because putting your plants in the ground is better at holding the moisture than a raised bed. So I found that even on the hottest days and the driest days, I could stick my finger down and it was still cool and it was still wet. I do have one raised bed, and it was a big problem during the heat wave because I had to water it twice as much as the rest of the garden. So this area though, it's I don't know if you can see in the shot, but this is all shale, and
It is. It's just lots and lots of rock. There's lots of, it looks like a lot of clay, which is not necessarily detrimental either.
yeah. So what would you do?
Well, you know what? I have seen people and they've just had phenomenal luck. I used to work with a woman, and this is what her ground was like. All she did was went to her local bike store, because they get the bikes in cardboard boxes and they're huge. So she would take all the copper staples out of it and any plastic tape off of it, and she would just lay 2 layers of cardboard down on something like this, and then she put in a whole bunch of manure, and then she did a little bit of composting, and she put about 6 inches worth of soil on top of that and just started her garden, and it decomposed, and at the end of the year she had about that much good viable soil.
Wow.
that was on the surface of the ground. So the next year she just repeated the process. If she felt that there were too many weeds in it, she'd put down another layer of cardboard, or she would just start with the manure, the compost, and a little bit of soil on top, and then just kept planting. And by the end of 5 years, you would have had no idea that she was growing on rock. It was just absolutely stunningly beautiful.
That sounds like a great idea.
Yeah, and it works, and it's cheap and it's easy. You mow your lawn, you got compost. You pull your weeds, you got compost.
You got chickens?
You got compost.
Got my
And you also have the cages that you made. That, I'm assuming, is to keep the chickens out of certain areas at certain times.
Yeah, I'll basically This is 2-inch by 2-inch stucco cloth, stucco wire. This particular one here that I made is 12 feet long and 2 feet wide, which fits half of the beds that I've dug. When I put in some really sensitive seedlings like broccoli or cauliflower or cabbage, it's meant to keep the chickens out so that they can mature. Now, chickens love brassicas, and I do know that I learned the hard way that a chicken can get its head 9 inches in. So obviously when the broccoli and the cabbages are growing wide, there's going to be a point where the chickens are going to be able to snip off the ends. So maybe next year I'm going to build a purpose-built fence, cage the whole entire garden so that I don't have to worry about that. Because cabbages, brassicas, that's our favorite.
That's awesome.
So I have 1,000 square feet of garden. What do I have growing in 1,000 square feet of my garden? I have cabbage, tomatoes, long green beans, Taylor horticulture beans, which are like a cow bean. I've got garlic, I've got broccoli, I've got zucchini, I've got cauliflower, I've got carrots, I've got potatoes, got onions, delicata squash, cucumbers, black beans, soybeans, 2 different kinds of pumpkins.
Too cool.
Awesome.
You rule.
Thank you.
And Mike, what is your Cargo Bike Mike website? What's that about?
Oh yeah, so I blog about being car-free and trying to be self-sustainable with the food production. My website is called cargobikemike.ca.
So check it out. It could be really interesting, you guys.
Hi, I'm Duncan, your local WildSafe BC community coordinator. When we're growing foods in our gardens, we're also likely to produce animal attractants. As we all know, many deer are attracted to the tender varieties of plants that we grow in our gardens. Black bears are also attracted to some of these plants, especially fruit-bearing trees and berry bushes. Even cougars can be attracted into our yards following the deer, or attracted to other small animals like rodents, pets, or backyard chickens and other livestock. Here's a couple tips to help you manage wildlife attractants in your gardens and help keep wildlife wild and our communities safe. If you're growing fruit trees in your yard, manage them by picking the fruit as it ripens and not allowing windfall to accumulate. The Alberni Valley Regional District has a gleaning program that can help assist you with this. If you're composting in your yard, manage it so that it doesn't smell. Add fruit slowly, never add meat or animal products. And be sure to add lots of brown material. These are things like dead leaves, twigs, pine needles, or paper, turning it often. If you have orchards, beehives, or livestock in your backyard, it's a good idea to protect them with a properly installed and maintained electric fence. This year, the Alberni-Clayoquot Regional District and WildSafe BC are proud to offer a cost share program for installing electrical fencing. Berry bushes are an important source of food for black bears, especially as they start to put on weight for winter denning. Blackberry bushes like these are a significant attractant for black bears in our community. If you have them in your yard like this, you might want to think about replacing them with more ornamental varieties or managing the other attractants in your yard to minimize the overall attraction to black bears. Last but certainly not least, respect the wildlife that enters your yard by not feeding them. Food conditioned animals are much more likely to get into conflict. And please report large predators or animals in conflict to the RAP line at 1-877-952-7277. For more information, go to www.wildsafebc.com or contact me directly at albernivalley@wildsafebc.com or 250-886-9907.
I decided I'm just going to show you one of my little beds that things don't always turn out the way you plan, but it's still fun anyway. In this one, all I was doing was bok choy, some carrots, some lettuce, some kohlrabi. Down here I had a little bit of peas, and then my garlic in the back. Well, unbeknownst to me, or I guess I just wasn't thinking, I used compost from my bin, and I guess it did not compost everything up to the high heat where it kills all the seeds. I have so many renegade tomatoes in here, you guys. It's just absolutely insane. But I'm getting flowers on them, so I am going to have some fruit. And I'll find out what the heck they are. I have no idea. The upside is that they've shaded all my romaine, and my lettuce has been just absolutely beautiful. Not so much on this side, my bok choy all bolted in the heat. It's going to seed, so I'm saving it because I like this one and I want to have the same kind next year. So my seed pods are getting green. They're not there yet, but I'm almost ready to get them out. I have peas. They're almost done. Unfortunately, they didn't work really well for me this year, only because I forgot to close the gate and the deer came in, and all my blooms up top they used as their buffet, so they ate them all. This is all I've got left. I've sown some more underneath, so I've got some new ones coming up. My garlic is right behind it. I've stopped watering it. It's starting to get the brown leaves on the bottom. When it gets up to maybe 4 leaves, that's when I'm going to dig it out. And I remember talking to you about planting the little teeny tiny bulbils and how they would grow up looking like grass. And here we have oregano. But they're just about ready to come out too. They actually did really well. I'm going to check them later and see what kind of a marble size hopefully they're going to be. But I'll do that when I pull up the rest of the garlic. I'm kind of curious. And for those of you that do the container gardening, this is my tomato. It's got lots of flowers on it. I give it the morning shake all the time, so it's self-pollinating. It's aroma, and you can see one of the tomatoes is coming out. Getting excited. This is the other container that we did, and I have the Thai basil, which is doing really well. My cucamelons are doing okay. I've got some more over in the side garden that have got little fruits on it. These ones, they're just teeny tiny. They're just starting. And then I've got another pepper here, and I've got lots of flowers, and I've got pepper started. I've got stevia. And you know what? Just for looks, I threw in a sedge. And when it gets too big for the pot, I'll transplant it out in the garden because I have a thing for sedges. I like them. They kind of look like they're dying. They kind of look fall colors. I just like them. But anyway, there's nothing saying I can't put stuff like that in with my veggies. So, like I said, here I've got some cabbages, my kohlrabi, my lettuce, renegade tomatoes, and I'm having fun. Oh, and there's a renegade snapdragon, not a sunflower, snapdragon up front too. So, I hope you have some happy accidents this year. Bye.